Ladies and gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Atlanta, Georgia, it's showtime! Introducing to you first the challenger on my right, fighting out of the blue corner tonight, seeking his third division world title. Wearing white trunks with yellow and silver trim, the young star of boxing from Baltimore and representing his adopted home of Atlanta, Georgia. He weighed in at 139 3/4 pounds with a sensational record of 24 wins, no losses. He has 23 big wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the popular and acclaimed three-time two-division world champion, the hard-hitting, current and undefeated WBA super featherweight and WBA lightweight champion of the world, introducing Gervonta.
On Netflix, to those of you joining us right here in Texas, are you ready to make history? Let's meet the fighters. First, fighting out of the blue corner, silver and chrome trunks. He stands 6 feet 1 inch tall. He weighed in at 227.2 pounds. He holds a near perfect professional record of 10 victories, 1 defeat, with 7 of those wins coming by way of knockout. And he fights out of Dorado, Puerto Rico, by way of Cleveland, Ohio, USA. He is the multi-talented superstar who bridged the gap between social media and professional boxing. Boxer, a content creator, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and a promoter, and the self-proclaimed of boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the problem child, Jake El Gallo Paul.
The boxing world has been buzzing for months leading up to this fight, and now it has finally happened. Jake Paul, the YouTube star turned professional boxer, stepped into the ring against Gervonta "Tank" Davis, one of the most explosive and feared knockout artists in boxing today. The idea of these two facing each other seemed impossible just a few years ago, but in 2025 the lines between entertainment, sports, and legacy have blurred, and this matchup became one of the most talked about events of the year. Fans filled the arena, and millions tuned in worldwide to witness this clash of styles, power, and reputation. What unfolded inside the ring was nothing short of dramatic, and tonight we're going to break down the highlights of this full fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. From the opening bell, the tension in the arena was electric. Jake Paul walked out with supreme confidence, flanked by his usual entourage, hyping up the crowd and promising that he would shock the world once again. Across from him, Tank Davis entered calm, composed, and laser-focused, his face giving away nothing but determination. Tank's reputation for ending fights in spectacular fashion loomed heavily over Jake, but Jake has proven in recent years that he can handle pressure, take punches, and deliver big shots himself. This wasn't just another celebrity boxing match. It was a genuine battle with real stakes. The first round began cautiously, with both fighters trying to establish distance. Jake Paul used his jab, flicking it out to test the range and keep Davis at bay. His size advantage was clear. Standing taller with a longer reach, Jake tried to use those tools to his benefit. Davis, on the other hand, did what he always does. He stayed patient, bobbing and weaving, analyzing Jake's rhythm and waiting for the perfect moment to explode. The crowd roared every time Tank darted in with a quick left hand, and every time Jake connected with a stiff jab, his supporters erupted as well. It was a feeling-out process, but already you could sense both fighters respected each other's power. By the second round, things began to heat up. Jake Paul started letting his right hand go, landing a couple of solid shots that got Tank's attention. While they weren't fight-ending blows, they showed that Jake wasn't intimidated. He had power, and he was willing to throw it. Tank, however, began to close the distance more effectively. He slipped Jake's jab, dug to the body with short hooks, and then came over the top with lightning-fast left hands. These punches landed cleanly, and though Jake took them well, the crowd gasped at Tank's speed and precision. Already, Jake's defense was being tested. The third round was where the fight started to feel dangerous for Jake. Tank had adjusted, and his pressure increased. He stalked forward, cutting off the ring, forcing Jake into uncomfortable exchanges. Jake tried to circle out and keep his jab pumping, but Tank slipped inside and landed a huge left hand that wobbled Jake momentarily. The crowd erupted, sensing the end might be near, but to Jake's credit, he held his ground. He clenched smartly, took a breath, and tried to recover. By the end of the round, Jake was back to throwing punches, showing toughness and refusing to fold. Still, Tank had made a statement. His power was real, and Jake felt it. In round 4, Jake tried to turn the tide. He started letting his hands go more, throwing combinations rather than single punches. He caught Tank with a clean uppercut on the inside that briefly stopped Davis in his tracks. The arena shook as Jake's fans roared, sensing their man might have his moment. For a few exchanges, it looked like Jake was building confidence, landing his jab and straight right repeatedly. But Tank is no stranger to adversity. He stayed calm, adjusted again, and then uncorked a devastating counter-left hook that snapped Jake's head back. The round ended with both men throwing, and the energy in the arena was electric. This was a real fight, not a spectacle. By round 5, fatigue began to show. Jake Paul, who had never faced someone as fast and precise as Tank, started to breathe heavier. His jab slowed down, and that's when Davis really went to work. Tank began targeting the body relentlessly, digging hooks into Jake's ribs, sapping his energy. Every time Jake tried to reset, Tank was there with another shot to the midsection. The body attack set up Tank's signature power upstairs, and the round ended with Jake absorbing some heavy shots on the ropes. He survived, but the momentum was clearly shifting in Tank's favor. Round 6 saw Tank Davis in full control. He was sharp, composed, and confident. Jake still had his moments, landing an occasional right hand that made Davis respect him, but the speed and explosiveness of Tank were overwhelming. Midway through the round, Tank feinted low, then unleashed a crushing straight left to Jake's chin. Jake stumbled backward, nearly going down, but managed to hold himself up with the ropes. The referee gave him a count, and the crowd went wild. Jake nodded defiantly, signaling he was okay, and when the action resumed, he came out swinging. To his credit, Jake landed a clean 1-2 that momentarily backed Tank up, proving once again his resilience. But the punishment was mounting. The 7th round was pure drama. Jake Paul, knowing he was behind and possibly running out of time, went for broke. He threw wild combinations, desperate to land something big. Some punches connected, but most were slipped or blocked by Davis. Tank, smelling blood, stayed patient, waiting for Jake to make a mistake. And then it happened. Jake overextended on a right hand, leaving himself open, and Tank countered with a thunderous uppercut that sent Jake crashing to the canvas. The arena exploded. Jake lay on the mat, dazed as the referee counted. Somehow, against all odds, Jake made it back to his feet. The crowd gave him a standing ovation for his heart. He survived the round, but barely. By round 8, it was clear Jake was running on pure willpower. His face showed swelling, his movement slowed, but his determination was undeniable. Tank Davis, on the other hand, looked fresh, bouncing on his feet, eyes locked on his target. Jake threw everything he had left, but Tank's defense was airtight. And then, midway through the round, Davis unleashed the finishing blow. A brutal left hand, perfectly timed, landed flush on Jake's jaw. This time, there was no getting up. Jake Paul collapsed to the canvas, and the referee immediately waved it off. It was over. Gervonta, Tank Davis had delivered yet another highlight reel knockout. The arena erupted in chaos. Tank's supporters celebrated wildly, while Jake's fans applauded his courage despite the defeat. Jake Paul had stepped into the ring with one of the best fighters in the world and gave it his all. But ultimately, the skill, speed, and power of Gervonta Davis were too much. Tank celebrated in the ring, pounding his chest and raising his gloves, cementing his reputation as one of the most dangerous fighters of this era. After the fight, interviews revealed the respect between the two men. Jake admitted that Tank was the fastest and hardest puncher he had ever faced, but he vowed to continue fighting and improving. He reminded everyone that he wasn't done, that he would learn from this and come back stronger. Tank, meanwhile, praised Jake for his toughness and heart, acknowledging that not many would dare step into the ring with him, let alone survive as long as Jake did. It was mutual respect, forged in the heat of battle. The boxing world will be talking about this fight for a long time. For Jake Paul, this was both a setback and a moment of validation. He may not have won, but he proved that he belongs in the ring with elite fighters. For Tank Davis, this was yet another highlight knockout added to his resume, further cementing his status as one of the most electrifying fighters in the sport. The night was a spectacle, a collision of two worlds, celebrity boxing and elite championship-level fighting, and it delivered in a way few expected. Fans will debate the outcome for months. Could Jake Paul have done better with a different strategy? Was stepping in against Tank Davis too big of a leap? And what's next for both men? Some will argue Jake should return to fighting names closer to his level, while others will insist he's earned respect regardless of the loss. For Tank, the conversation turns to legacy. Who's next for him? Another champion, another mega fight, or perhaps another crossover superstar looking to test themselves against one of boxing's most dangerous knockout artists. One thing is certain. The Jake Paul vs. Gervonta Davis fight in 2025 was unforgettable. It combined drama, skill, heart, and a spectacular finish that will live on in highlight reels for years. Fans wanted entertainment and they got it. They wanted a knockout, and Tank delivered. And they wanted to see if Jake Paul could hang with a true world-class fighter. And for several rounds, he proved he could, until Tank reminded the world why he's called one of the most feared men in boxing.